Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet, Bava Kamma Daf Zayin Amud Aleph, 57a. We're starting on the bottom of 56b, the last line, where we gave a siman, a mnemonic, which was again in brackets. And now we're starting the question, Eitve Rav Yosef le Rabba. That Rav Yosef comes and he's asking on Rabba from a question. Okay, and it says like this. Hechzira lemakom shir'ena. What happens right now if what happens is you find an avedah, and what happened is you're going to put it back to the place where they could actually see it, right? That's what's going to happen. Eno chayav letapel ba. So now, if you come and you put it back to the place where it was lost in order that they could actually find it, sorry. So then you're not obligated anymore to take care of it anymore. Nignevau avda, but if it's stolen or it's going to be lost, then you're chayav b'achariyuta. Right? Why? Because since you found it and you just put it back to the original place, you're going to be in trouble for it. Says the Gemara, what does it mean now? My nigneva, right? Or avda. What does it mean now that it was stolen or it was lost? What does that mean exactly? Lav, are we not talking about nigneva mi beto ve'avda mi beto? Are we not talking about such a case where it was stolen from the guy's house or it was lost from the guy's house? And therefore, the question is, if it was going to be stolen or lost, so therefore, it comes out that if you actually find the lost object, you're considered a shomer sachar, because a shomer sachar is chayav on gneva v'aveda. If you're going to be a shomer chinam, you would be patur, unless it's going to be, for example, a pshia, negligence, or things like that. But if not, no. So answers the Gemara, no. It was stolen or lost mimakom shechzira, from the place where you're going to put it back. The haktani, so we learned, eno chayav letapel ba, that you're not going to be chayav letapel ba. So Elmaleh comes and he says, what are we dealing with? Kegon shechzira batzaoraim, that you took it back in the afternoon. Betar tiktani, right? And we actually learned two different cases. V'achiktani. Hechzira shachrit lemakom shirena u'shchiach de'ayil v'nafik v'chazila. If right now you put it back in the morning to a place where you're going to see it, and it's common that you're going to go up and you're going to, so then you're not obligated anymore to come and to take care of it, right? Why? Because since in the morning the owners are there and he goes in and out, so he could see it right when it's going to be returned. If he gives it back also in the afternoon, the same thing. Now in the afternoon, it's not common that the owners will come in and out. So he's not going to see it until the next day. So now which means like this. Basically, if you're going to put it back at a time where the owner could still see it, so then now you're going to be patur anymore from achariyut. Why are you going to be patur from achariyut? Listen, you put it back. The owner will probably walk by and come in. He sees it. So that's it. I'm not obligated anymore for anything that happens. But if I put it back at a time where the owner's not going to come, so what does that help? By the time the owner will even come to see it, it might only be tomorrow morning. So if it's going to be like that, what does it help now that I put it back? So I'm still chayav on achrayut, on the responsibilities, if it's going to get lost or stolen.
If I haven't had that testified that I put it back.
That now comes, yeah, and it says now this. What does that mean now? I thought you said you're not obligated. So we just said that it all depends when you give it back. 8v. So we ask a question. Leolam hu chayav ad sheyachzirena lirshuto. You're always going to be obligated until you give it back to his reshut. My leolam. What does it mean now, leolam? So says the Gemara, right? What does it mean, leolam? Lav afilum beto. Even if it's not talking about his house, even in his house. So it says shema mina kesocher sachar dami. So he's a shomer sachar. So says the Gemara, Elmaleh, he tells him, Modinan lecha be'ba'alei chayim. Right, we're talking about now the case of ba'alei chayim. Yeah, so in the case of ba'alei chayim, tekevan denakti lehu nigra braita ba'netiruta yeterata. He says, right, in a case where you found, right, that the one that takes it out is going to be chayav on the gneva v'avada. He comes and he says, since he took them out, and usually they're, lekacha psio lechus, just come out, look, they have to, you have to actually come and give them more shmirah. So the fact that you didn't give them more shmirah, that's why you're going to be chayav. Okay? So 8 Rabbi Yosef, so Rabbi Asar Yosef. It says Hashev. En liela beveto. When I come and I say Hashem, you have to return it to the house. Leginato churbato. How do I know that if I'm going to give it back to the gina and the churba? Minayin, how do we know? Tamulomar teshivem. What does it mean teshivem? Mikomakom. Meaning the fact that it says Hashem teshivem, you could even go back to the gina. You could give it back to the gina. There's no problem. So says the Gemara, "My leginato churbato." You're going to tell me now it's the gina which is mishtameret and the churba which is mishtameret. Hainu beto, that is the house, right? That's what I just told you. If it's mishtamer, mishtamer means that it's guarded, right? That means not everyone could. Elapshita, we're talking about gina she'ena mishtamer churba shel mishtameret. Shemamina keshomech chinam dami. So it teaches you're going to be a shomech chinam. Samalei, it doesn't know. The olam really by mad leginato mishtamer churbato mishtameret. Kash lecha hainu beto, that's his house. Hakamashmalan, that comes to teach you delo bain and da balim, which means like this: if you're going to give it back to a place where it's mishtamer, so then even if the owners don't know about it, it's going to be okay. But if you're going to put it in a place which is not mishtamer, which nowadays, by the way, right, the majority of houses, right, their front porch or whatever it is, it's not mishtamer, right? People can walk right up to your porch, nobody could tell them anything. Like I'm saying, what you understand? So therefore, it's not mishtamer. It's not a place which is watched over, right? You have to be careful with things that are there. Right? Why do you think everyone now is putting the ring and the cameras? And there's every single day they have another thing which is coming out. How do you call this? It's not. I don't know if that's considered mishtamer, even with a camera. And the reason why is because many times they steal it. Many times they steal it. You have to remember, after COVID, everything became accepted. Right. What does that mean? Nowadays, you see a guy walking around with a mask, you don't say anything. So what happens, right? He's walking around, he sees that they put a package. You know how many times they get it on the ring? Right? Porch robber. Yeah, every single 2 seconds. Right? What happens? They come, they put the mask, they have a hood. Done. Out. Go look for them. Go look for them. You're gonna look for them. Even if you do find them, you could you'll never be able to get back.
Private houses, you don't have special.
Right? So he says we don't need da'at balim. Kid Rabbi Elazar, like Rabbi Elazar. Taman Rabbi Elazar says Rabbi Elazar. Hakol tzrichin da'at ba'alim.
So when they ring the bill, when they drop the boxes and they ring the bill, does da'at ba'alim? They ring the bill to you.
Well, it depends. If it's a type of ring doorbell or some type of thing that goes to your phone and you recognize it and you accept it or you say okay or whatever, so then yeah, that is da'at balim. But if the guy's not home, what's da'at balim if I ring a doorbell? It's not da'at balim.
The balim are sukim or whatever it is.
But they don't know about it. Da'at balim means that the owners know about it. They have to know about it. They have to acknowledge it. You understand? It's not enough, right? They have to acknowledge it. Yeah? So he says, chutz me'ashavat aveda, except for hashavat aveda. Hashavat aveda, even without the da'at balim. Shareh ribta bo Torah hashavot arbe, because since it says hashav teshivem, it said it in such a way, so therefore even without da'at balim, they're allowed to return it. Meaning, anything else, you have to return it with da'at balim. Here, you don't have to return it with da'at balim. You understand? Somebody, he borrowed sefarim, right? When he wanted to return it, he let me know about it. That's called da'at balim. Yeah? No. Okay, but it's okay. Elmaleh Abai Rav Yosef. Says Abai to Rav Yosef. Ve'at lo tizbera shomer aveda keshomer chinam dame. He comes and he says, you're going to tell me now that it's not going to be logical to say that a shomer aveda is like a shomer chinam. He says, ve'ham Reb Chia bar Abba am Rabbi Yochanan. Says Reb Chia bar Abba named Rabbi Yochanan. Hatuen ta'anat ganav ba'aveda meshalem tashlum kefel. Imagine right now you come and you are toen ta'anat ganav with something that was lost. You have to pay double, right? Meaning something was lost, right? You took it, and now you come and you say, it was stolen. You took it for yourself, but you say it was stolen. So what happens? You have to pay the kefil. You have to pay the double.
To who?
To the owner.
But he's the owner.
No, you told the owner. You told the owner that it was stolen. And you found it, but it was stolen. So what happens? You have to pay the kefil. If you're going to tell me that it's shomer sachar, why do you have to pay tashume kefil? He says it's chayav l'shalem the keren immediately, right? Even if it's going to be a met. So why does he have to pay then, right? Because since he's a ganav, right? He's not going to pay kefil. He's only going to pay one time. You understand? he's only going to pay once. Everyone understood what happened?
אז איפה העונש?
What
happened?
רק קנס אחד, הוא לא צריך לקבל כפל.
לא, קנס אחד זה הוא מחזיר לו מה שהוא גנב.
בדיוק, אז זה קרן, זה לא קנס. לא, העונש זה הכפל.
ברור שאתה צריך להחזיר את
זה הכפל, הכפל.
זה העונש.
No, but הכוונה is you only have to pay one time. When I say אתה משלם תשלומי כפל, it means you have to pay double. You have to pay the keren plus double. Kefel means kaful, correct? If you automatically, you found something. Yeah, I found this of John Doe. Now I have to pay him, no matter what happened, I have to pay him the principal because I'm achrai. I'm responsible. So if I already have to pay him the principal, so then why does the Gemara say now I have to pay him kefel? It's not kefel. I have to pay the extra one, but not the kefel. You understand? When you use the terminology kefel, it means kaful. It means you have to pay two. It's not two. You already have to pay one. So what do you mean now you're paying one? Okay? So he comes and he says, Elmaleh, he answers, what are we dealing with? Kegon shetoen ta'anat listim mezuyan. There's a difference between ganvu et ze and listim mezuyan. Listim mezuyan means is that there's armed robbers, right? Bandits, right? That they're armed, that they're coming, right? And therefore, says the Gemara, Elmaleh, listim mezuyan gazlanu. That's a gazlan. So Elmaleh comes and he says, Shani omer listim mezuyan kevan demitamar me'anche. Since he's mistater from people, ganavu, he's a ganav. Okay, that means even though it's like a gazlan, it's like a ganav. Meaning that, and by the way, you should know, even in Lavdil Alef Avdalot, secular concepts, there's also the same thing. There's like armed robberies, and then there's just robberies. What does that mean? Somebody comes, he breaks it, no. But somebody that comes with a gun to the guy, it's a different case. I'm saying, meaning it's not the same thing, right? It's much worse.
זה שוד מזוין.
No, ודאי. It's armed robbers.
מזוין זה weapons, no?
Yeah, for sure. 100%. It's a different thing. If somebody just comes in and he steals, that's one thing. But if he's going to come in to steal and he's going to be, that's a different world. You understand? Okay. Yeah, fine. 8 base. So they're going to ask now on a Braita. Nun Zayin Mubet, 57b. Says the Gemara, 8 lo im amarta b'shomer chinam, right? Sheken meshalem tashlum kefel. We're not talking about the case of shomer chinam that you're paying tashlum kefel. Tomar b'shomer sachar, that you're going to say in shomer sachar that you're not going to pay tashlum kefel. So he comes and he says, V'yitzak, then if you're going to tell me now listim mezuyan or ganavu, that listim mezuyan is considered a ganav, nimtza shomer sachar meshalem tashlum kefel between ta'ana listim mezuyan. It comes out that shomer sachar will have to pay kefel when he says that it was stolen by listim mezuyan. So Elmaleh comes and he says, it's not a proof. Why? Hachi kamer. This is what I'm saying. Lo, it's not true. Amarta, when you said by a shomer chinam that he has to pay mishlem tashlume kefel b'chol tanotav, right? Tomar b'shomer sachar shena mishlem tashlume kefel b'toen ta'ana listim mezuyan, right? That's the way that you're supposed to read it. Which means that at the end of the day, if you're going to tell me that this chumrah is by a shomer chinam, right? That the chumrah is that he has to pay tashlume kefel on anything which is on sheker, that it was stolen, and really by it wasn't stolen. Right, but that's what we're saying over here. Remember, we're talking about a case where Be'emet he's saying it was stolen and it wasn't stolen. Okay, but are you going to tell me that by the case of Shomer Sachar, the same thing? So 8 ways. So they're going to ask another question. It says in the pasuk, "V'nishbar omet shalem mishalem." So we're talking about over here a case, right? This is in Parashat Mishpatim. Yeah, in Parashat Mishpatim, it says over there. Right, the Torah says we're talking about that you borrow your friend's animal, and it says v'nishbar omet, and it breaks or dies. So en li ela shvura umeta. That's only if it breaks or dies. Gineva v'avida. How do we know about gineva v'avida? How do we know if it gets lost or stolen? So he says minayin. So amarta. So you say kal v'chomer. Uma shomer sachar shepatar bo shvura umeta. Just like by a shomer sachar that you're going to make a patur by shvura umeta. Chayav b'gneva v'avida, and it's going to be chayav in gneva v'avida. Shoel shechayav b'shvura umeta. A shoel that is going to be chayav in shvura umeta. Eno din shechayav b'gneva v'avida. Are you not going to tell me it's going to be chayav in gneva v'avida? V'zeu kal v'chomer. This is a kal v'chomer she'en alav teshuva, that does not have a teshuva.
pircha.
Yeah, pircha. תמיד יש תשובה. תשובה הכוונה yeah? So he says there's no pircha. Okay? So he says over here, so a shoel is going to be chayav b'shura meta. It's going to be, so kav v'chomer, he's going to be chayav then b'gneva v'aveda. Now, if you're going to tell me now, listim mizuyan ganavu, that listim mizuyan is considered a ganav, why is there no question then? You could ask, Mano shomer sachar shekem mishalem t'shum mekefer b'toen tana listim mizuyan. A shomer sachar does pay for such a case of listim mizuyan. So therefore, a shomer sachar is chamur yoter from a shoel, because a shoel will never pay kefir. So for what's going on? So Elmaleh comes and he says, Kasava Raitana, this Tana holds, Karna belo shubua, adifa mikfeila b'shubua. Meaning like this Tana of the Braita holds that the Tana that we just mentioned now, you're going to have to pay Tashume Kefir, is not a question against the Kal Vachomer. He says, you know why? He says, because paying Keren without a Shavua is better, right? Which is a better, meaning a Chumra Gdola Yoter, from paying the Kefil only after Shavua. Meaning paying something without a Shavua is a bigger Chumra than paying Kefil with Shavua. So it's not a Chumra that we said, it's the exact opposite. Okay? So says the Gemara, Leima Mesayale, why don't we just say that this actually helps? When it says, Socher para michavero v'nigneva, Damar hala hareni meshalem ve'eni nishba. Imagine right now somebody's going to be socher the para from his friend and it gets stolen. And the other guy comes and he says, hareni meshalem, I'm going to pay, ve'eno nishba, and I'm not going to swear. And afterwards they actually found it. So meshalem tashlume kefel, he does have to pay tashlume kefel, meaning here the guy didn't want to swear. So since the guy didn't want to swear, so he's going to pay the tashlume kefel. So he comes and he says, because he wanted to pay at the beginning to be poteret atzmi. He didn't want to swear. So, you know, a lot of people, they were like that. They don't want to swear, I pay. You're not, you could pay, you could swear, you could become patur. They don't want to swear. Pay.
What? Just because of swearing?
Yeah, they don't want to swear. They don't want to swear. So it's better for them to pay up and not swear than to swear and not pay. In the olden days, that's the way it was. Mamash, it was like to swear.
People think they're going to think that they did something bad.
But it doesn't matter. They prefer not to swear. They prefer not to swear. Okay? So Savrua ke Rabbi Yehuda. They hold like Rabbi Yehuda. The Amar that he says, Socher kenose sachar dami. That a socher is like a nose sachar. Umidiktani, and the fact that we taught, Amar areni mishalem eni nishba, that I'm going to pay and I'm not going to swear. Niklal di bay patalin al shebeshua. So it comes out that they're going to be poter from Beshua. Hechidami, what's the case exactly? Kegon de katayim ta'anat listim mizuyan. That they're going to be toen listim mizuyan. The Ketani they taught, we learn from here, that it's considered a ganav. Okay? Fine. So that's what we're saying. We're saying that it's considered a ganav. Next, Amri. So we said, yeah? We said like this. Mi savrat Rabbi Yehuda. Are you going to tell me now that we hold like Rabbi Yehuda? That he says shomer sachar, that a socher is like a noseh sachar? That a renter is like a noseh sachar, like a shomer sachar? Maybe he holds like Rabbi Meir. That he says a socher is like a shomer chinam. Meaning this, a renter, you're paying to use the object. So when you're paying to use an object, you're a socher. What are you? Are you a shomer chinam? Or are you considered a shomer sachar? That's the question. You understood? That's the question. So now he says, Amri, they said, Misavrat, do you think? Right? Rabbi Yehuda, the Amar, maybe he was like Rabbi Meir. So if you want, you can answer that really be'emet, it's like that we switched Rabba Baravu and he taught that a socher, how does a socher milketza meshalem? Rabbi Meir says like a shomer sachar, Rabbi Yehuda says like a shomer chinam. So that means it comes out that really be'emet, we actually have a machloket between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. What is a socher? Is a socher considered a shomer chinam? Or is a socher considered like a shomer sachar? Rabbi Zera comes and he says, what are we dealing with? Between Tana listim mizuyan, then nimtza listim she'eino mizuyan. No. The guy came and he said it was a listim mizuyan, and therefore he could be poteret atzmo with a shavua, and he decided to pay. But then we found out that there was a ganav, that it was a listim she'eino mizuyan, and therefore since the guy already went when he acquired it, right? But the fact by he paying, so therefore he was zocher the tashlum kefir. Okay. Fine. 2 dots. The Gemara says, Nafla legina, v'ne'enet meshalem v'mashanenet. So this is one of the cases, if you remember, of Dayan Zimmerman on Monday night, right? Dayan Zimmerman spoke, and he said that there's a concept in halacha brought down that you pay that which you benefited, right? Which means that at the end of the day, you did benefit. So therefore, you have to pay that which you benefit. So for example, if I come and I do for you a work, and you're going to benefit from it, yeah? עשיתי לך עבודה, ואתה נהנה מזה. בלי שתבקש את זה.
בלי פרמישן?
בלי שתבקש את זה. אבל נהנית.
כן.
אתה חייב לשלם. באמת. We just learned it.
I told you to...
But it doesn't matter. But you benefited.
הרבה דברים אני benefit, but...
You benefited.
You don't pay. The animal ate.
The animal ate.
You don't have to feed the animal then.
Now, you're right. How much do you have to pay? How much do you have to pay? מה אתה נפגע? הוא נפגע.
לא, איזה נפגע?
תשמע.
תזכור.
One second.
נבוא אליו לניו יורק,
תן לי לגמור.
נעשה לו עבודות שם, ונביא לו את הביל.
תן לי לגמור. Yeah.
The benefit. No?
Yeah. He comes and he says like this.
No, so he's gonna tell you, I'm not happy with this.
You have to pay. You have to pay like the minimum wage of the benefit, but you have to benefit. So for example, I came to your animal and I gave him a steak. I could say, listen, what
פרה לא אוכלת סטייק. פרה לא אוכלת סטייק.
Okay. זה הכלב שלך. Yeah. So what happens? Yeah. So what happens? So therefore, I come and I tell Mordechai, listen, you have to pay me up. I gave you a benefit. So he doesn't have to pay me for steak. He doesn't have to pay me for steak. He could pay me. Dog food.
He saves
Yeah,
that
he could
money.
pay me. He
הוא
could pay
הביא לו
me dog
מהפואגו,
food.
הביא לו...
Yeah, he could pay me dog food, but he has to pay. Why? He benefited. So that's what the Mishnah. By the way, it's a Mishnah. We learned it in the Mishnah. המשנה אומרת.
ואני לא אומר שאני לא חולק על המשנה. אני רק זה נשמע לי תמוה.
I have a pain in my back. I said,
אתה בא אליי, אתה אומר לי, I fit your dog. חזק הוא ברור. מה, מישהו אמר לך, יכלת להרוג אותו גם.
No,
you know, what
you have to pay that which you benefit. That's what's brought down in the Mishnah, in the Gemara, and also in Halacha. But 1 minute. So he gave the case, by the way. The case was that there was a guy that the hotel that they came and that they wanted to. He was like in charge of the catering, but he wanted that the hotel should have a lot of atzlacha. So they went and they got involved in all the interior design, and they helped the guy. That now that the hotel looked like wow. So afterwards he comes and he said, "Okay, this is the bill." Understand? So there's a whole thing about that. That technically speaking, maybe you would. So there was other questions as well. There was another, but technically speaking, sorry, if you come right and you helped out in a certain sense, yeah. If I could have gotten it for free, then that's something different because then it's not mene. But if I met benefit, which means that I didn't have to pay now Roberto or somebody else to do it, and you got your guy to do it. So you're right. I only have to pay maybe Roberto's salary. Right, but I have to pay you.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah,
It happened to me. I went with my wife.
I like that. נפלה לגינה.
Yeah, it fell into a no, because you have to remember sometimes.
Property.
Yeah, into the property. So it fell into a gina. V'nenet, and it benefits. So you have to pay one mashenet. Amara benichbeta on the perot, which means it fell on the perot, and therefore it actually saved itself. Meaning the perot was used as a cushion, so therefore it saved itself. Avalachla afilu mashenet. But what if it eats? Are you going to tell me even mashenet and mishalemet? How could that be? Rav says ki'ilu that since you use it as a cushion, that's what he has to pay. Mashma what? If he eats, he doesn't have to pay. So lema Rav Tameh. Why don't we just say that Rav goes according to his reasoning? Damarav, that Rav says hayala shelo tochal. It shouldn't have eaten, and therefore, yeah. What? So he says, "Hayala shelo tochal." What does that mean? That for the same reason, en lechayev bala behema she'achla et haperot hagina, you shouldn't actually obligate. So Amri, so they said, Hach yashta. You compare both cases. Ein mor damar Rav hata. Maybe we're talking about hayashla shelo tochal. Hecha dzitzika hi tematzi amar la mare de perei. When the animal is going to be damaged, we could actually say in such a case, the Bala Perot could tell the Bala Bema, Lo Mishalamna, I'm not going to pay. Why? Hayala Shelo Tochal. Shouldn't have eaten. La Zuki Charine, but to do with damaging others when it's eating, the patre leshlume, that's going to be patur to be paying up. Miyamar, does he say that? Which means like this. The Gemara is saying, I don't understand. What are you trying to compare? What did Rav just say? Rav says that Rav goes to Shitato in another place that if the Behema comes and she becomes sick, right? The Bala Perot is going to be patur. Why? Because he could say, don't eat. And the fact that he could say, don't eat, so the Bala Perot is going to be patur. So he says, but you can't compare both cases over there. There, you could say, Hayala Shalot Ochal, when it got damaged, right? Because then the owner of the Perot could say to the Bala Perot, I'm not going to pay you. Why? You shouldn't have eaten. Who told you to eat? Right? But who told you to damage other things? No, he didn't say anything. So what's going on there? Ella, but rather, he comes and he says, Lo mi baya kama. You didn't need to say it. Lo mi baya achla de mishalem in mashenenet. Not only talking about a case where it's going to eat, that you're going to pay that which it ate, aval nechbeta, but if it actually falls on it, and therefore it uses as a cushion, you're saving the field. So then you're not going to actually pay that as well. Hamashmalan comes to teach you in such a case that even in such a case you're obligated to pay that which you benefited, which means that since you benefited, you're going to be obligated to pay. So remember, the concept of mavri achadi means that I saved a lion from coming to your property. So therefore, technically, I could charge you because I just saved you from loss. That's what we're trying to say over here. So therefore, he comes and he says, right, that you're going to be patur in such a case.
The story also with the